Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for those who have been here with us for a few hours today. Like you said, my name is Tope Fasua. I do a number of things. I'm an economist. The title of my slides is, or my topic of my story is Things to Do Before Your Career Disappears. I hope they get that rolling. Things to do before your career disappears. It's not supposed to be a negative story. I'm supposed to give a couple of advices under the next 18 minutes of my discussion. We realize that, technology, innovation are unstoppable. However, as much as they advance in their sophistication, a lot of times they're taking a lot of people out of employment. And what can we do about that? It's an unstoppable phenomenon. What we're looking at today, I'll probably start out by telling you a few stories. I don't know if there's anyone here who has seen the movie Parental Guardians. Parental Guardians, anyone? And the key actor there is a man called TEDx, acted by Billy Crystal. And the movie started by something going on. He was laid off from his job, and what happened? His young boss called him, after doing a good day's job, and said, "Hey, Ati, you're dead good. We have to let you go." So what do you mean I'm dead good? He goes, we need someone who's wired in. Facebook. How many friends have you got? I don't have any friends on Facebook. Have you poked anyone? Has anyone poked you? Hey, hell no. No one has poked me. And then he went on, okay, yeah, apps. How many apps have you got? I don't have any apps. What do you mean you don't have any apps? Do you play Angry Birds? I don't play Angry Birds. What's your favorite Angry Bird? And of course, at the end of the day, they had to let TEDx go. The second story I'd like to share, I also picked from another fiction, another movie called The Internship. In The Internship, one of the key actors actually lost his job as well. He used to work in a wristwatch making factory, company. And when he went to his boss, "Why did you have to lay me off?" The boss turns to the secretary and says, "Hey, Maggie, what time is it?" And Maggie brought out her phone to check the time. Now that's very instructive because a normal phone today does a whole lot of things. In fact, it is said that anyone today with a phone and an internet connection has at least 10 times as much information that President Clinton had when he was the president of the United States of America. That tells you that we're so efficient. Who needs that? The third story is about a man whose daughter turned 18. And, in order to give this girl a good time, he went and bought her a very nice wristwatch. And the girl was, "Why did you have to buy me a single-function device?" So what's a single-function device? A wristwatch will only read the time. Oftentimes, the date function on your wristwatch is dead. And that's where it's at. A single-function device. Therefore, we're saying today, you don't have to be a single-function person. In the new world that we live in today, you can't afford to be a single-function device as an individual. And that's the crux of my discussion with you today. But how do I drive it home to let you know the danger that we face? The fact that, as much as technology is our best friend, it's also our worst enemy. Technology is your best friend if you can leverage on it, if you're the kind of person that's innovative, if you're the kind of person that's coming up with great ideas, and of course you must gaze into the future. Gaze into the future and tell exactly, you should have what they call systems thinking. The systems thinking approach is a scenario where you're thinking outside the box. You're able to relate so many things going on globally, those going on nationally, those going on within your locality in order to inform your next action. How best is it to illustrate the problem we face today as a people? For example, if you went to a lot of our banks today, they are embracing e-banking, ATMs and so on and so forth. A whole lot of people who had careers as tellers, as bank tellers and so on, they've had to be shown the door. Do you have to be one of those who sits down, waiting for the next check? Do you want to be part of the solution or always part of the problem? That's my discussion with you today. So it's very important for us to know some of the things. Apart from that, another very important phenomenon is the phenomenon of globalization. Globalization means there's competition. And if you're a company, for example, if you run a company, you cannot afford to sit on your oars. You can't defend and win. You cannot defend and win a football match. I know a lot of us are into football. If you defend in a football match, you can at best play a draw. But you've got to go out there and score the goals. Because the alternative is that companies from all over the world will reach into your market using the advantage of the internet, of technology. They'll reach into your market and take it. Therefore, whatever products you're selling must be standard, global standard. You must be ready to meet those global standards. So in my effort, I've thought about this from the perspective of the individual, from the household, from the perspective of the company, and of course, from the perspective of the government. What do you have to do? So things to do before your career disappears. Because careers are disappearing. In fact, let's think about it. Tell me any career at all. I'll tell you what, in the medium to long run, what the threats to those careers are. I'm an accountant, for example. And I remember opening an account in a bank in the UK for my company. And, they gave me a CD, and that's like 8-10 years ago. They gave me a CD and said, you slot this in, and it does your accounts for you. So who needs an accountant? Right, so give me another one. I even said, well, I'm sorry to say, our biggest nightmare, if there was going to be another World War III or something like that, perhaps that World War would be fought by drones. Think about it. You don't have to put a person inside the plane. He goes there, does what he wants to do, comes back. So even some of the most sophisticated of professions are in danger. And the reason why, when you look out there in Nigeria today, for example, so many people out of work, because their skill sets don't match the requirements of the moment. Technology is about efficiency. And any technology you buy, and of course we buy a lot of technology these days, gets more and more efficient. This phone is not just a phone anymore. When the phone came out, it was as large as my arm, when the mobile phone came out. But today this phone is a phone, it's an internet device, you can do your Word documents on it, you can do your Excel spreadsheet on it. What else? It's a touch light, it's an organizer, it's a diary, it's a calendar. This phone. In 1958, when Professor Chinua Achebe, then he wasn't a professor, wrote his book, Things Fall Apart, he had to send it all the way to London for typing only. And it took 3 months before he could get the book back. When I started working in 1992, there used to be a battery of typists in front of the General Post Office in Lagos, in Marina. They're all gone now. Most of us don't need secretaries anymore in our offices because everybody does their typing. Where are those people that used to do those work? They're out there, most of the time unemployed. And that's why, as much as government will say that we're providing the enabling environment for private sector to employ, we who are in the private sector know that the private sector is not in the business of creating employment. The private sector is in the business of making money with as little resources as possible, and that's what we're about. And therefore, I can't see where those jobs are going to come from, except to begin to think deeply. So this is a call to deep thought. Right, so for the individual, what do you have to do before your career disappears? One of the few things, I'm going to speak about a few of them within the time I have. One of the things you have to do, my view, is a time to be multi-talented. Get a second language. Get a second chance. We're now in the age of the multitasker. You don't want to be a single function device in this time. 2, when you look at this from a systemic point of view, it tells you also, cautions you in terms of your spending. You want to really be strategic. You want to learn 1 or 2 things about risk management. It's not the time to spend your resources. It's the time to save. Not really a time to borrow, if you ask me. For a company, like I said before, what you need to do is to play the global game. You can't hope to defend your territory because your territory can no longer be defended. Except you want to be a dinosaur. And I'm going to close by saying about dinosaurs here. For government, I think my biggest message is for government. When we look at this very important problem, that we're faced with, for example, human population is increasing, but human relevance is reducing. A lot of the things that human beings used to do, postman, who needs a postman these days? Who would go to Nigeria General Post Office and send a mail to your friend in Kano and wait for it to be delivered. and then you wait for a reply, and then that takes 2 months. When you can send a mail, or an SMS, or even instant chats, stuff, all sorts of things that come up. So the government actually sees this. Government will be alarmed enough, number one, to reorder its spending. It's very, very important for us to reorder our spending, given that we're in a globalized environment, and laggard countries will continue to lag, while efficient countries and efficient companies continue to succeed. We've got lessons to learn from those who have succeeded. I think I'm going to close my talk by recounting a certain quotation. He says that any person, group, society, or being whose rate of learning is less than or equal to the rate of change in its environment is gradually becoming a dinosaur. We don't want to become dinosaurs. Mind you, it says, if your rate of change is less than or equal to. That means even when you're changing at the same pace as your environment is changing, and we're not talking about the physical environment only, we're talking about the physical, social environment, the economic environment. If you're changing at the same rate, you're changing too late. I don't know where the world is heading to, but what I can tell you is we've got to relate to that world, to our world, differently, so that we stop being victims. Let's stop playing the victim. Let's seize the bull by the horn. Thank you very much.